Hey, what is up? Welcome to live stream number 56. Coming to you live here 56 days in a row to discuss many different things and many different topics. Thank you for joining in. Feel free to drop any questions, comments, or cash in the YouTube live chat. We will be responding in real time. Okay, first up today in the program, playing with content formats. This is a format that I'm going to pull up here from yesterday. Saw a tweet from the one and only Felipe Yaxong on Future Commerce. And the broader thing I want to talk about here is the idea of, and I hope that this video doesn't overload my encoding. Looks like I'm doing okay. Is the idea of playing with different content formats. That's something I've been playing with a lot lately, different formats of content. And it's something that is an interesting thing to do, to try out these different formats. This particular one here is the it's a piece of text, and this happens to be just a screen capture from Descript, from the app Descript, which does video transcription, podcast editing, and it's just highlighting the word as it's being read, which I think is a really effective format. I think that it would be so powerful if there was a podcast app that created this type of visual video format. It's something that one of the things that Anchor did, but it's not very reliable functionality, partly because I think it's free. So if you could pay for something that could do this reliably, I think that would be brilliant. And so I've also been playing with different formats. I'll just pull a couple of them up real quick. Some of the formats that I've been playing around with. So this is my Twitter stream mention jobby. What are all these? What in the world? Screenshots. Oh, quote graphics. Starting to play around with these a little bit. What else? Meme videos. Where are the meme videos? Oh yeah, here's my meme videos I've been playing around with. These work extremely well. It's kind of a little bit frustrating because I'm putting all this investment into these videos I'm doing, and these meme videos do much better than my own videos. Anyway, here's another little text format which worked okay. It just, you take some text and it just scrolls on the text. A little bit similar to what Future Commerce did, but what's great about the Future Commerce one is that it highlights each word as it's being read. I think is super useful. Anyway, if you're putting out content, you want to keep playing with those formats and mixing it up. Mixing it up is the name of the game. Did I forget to screen share that entire thing? I think I did. I think that entire segment, I actually failed to properly share my screen, which is a little bit of a bummer. So let me... I've started going back and forth between my two different scenes here, my full video, and my screen share scene. And obviously, I'm not very good at it yet because I just messed that whole thing up, for crying out loud. For crying out loud. All right, well, too bad. Moving on. Next up, got a comment on LinkedIn on the topic of networking. I've been talking about sort of how to network at conferences, how to approach conferences in general, how to approach people, what types of things to talk about, how to deal with the inevitable awkwardness and frustration that one always feels at a conference. And LinkedIn takes forever forever to load comments, man. This is real heavy. Real heavy. It doesn't help that I'm live streaming right now and my system is a little overloaded. But for crying out loud, LinkedIn, would you load it up already? Shoot, would you load it up already? For crying out loud. Here we go. Comment from Walter here. What is your opinion about making connections before a conference and plan a few meetings during the conference? Then the ice is already broken at the first real meeting. So I think this is a good tactic. I definitely see this happen a lot. And real quick, I just got my comment here in the live chat from John. A laughing smiley face. Thanks, brother. Appreciate it. And so so the topic here was making connections before a conference. So I think this is a good tactic. I definitely see people doing this a lot leading up to a conference. It's like you get a bajillion emails that are like, hey, let's set up a meeting. And they can sort of start to become a little bit salesy where, people are wanting to set up meetings ahead of time. I think that, again, my whole theme on conferences and what's worked for me is to not be overly salesy. And I think that those meeting setup emails, when they become salesy, is when they can maybe, and that can be effective as a sales technique as well. That can be super effective. But if you want to go the route of less on the sales, more on the just connecting with people, trying to connect with people more person to person, I would say try to set up some of those meetings, but don't necessarily make them have to be like pitch meetings. You know what I mean? Like, just make them be like, hey, like, can we just hang out a little bit, kind of a thing? Or, hey, can we grab coffee on, in the morning before this event for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes? So you're not necessarily maybe asking for an hour of somebody's time to do like a pitch. Make them more, maybe a little more informal, a little more get to know you. That's kind of my whole vibe. Is like, when it comes to conferences, focus on getting to know the person. Try to focus a little less on pitching yourself. Focus on getting to know them, having good conversations, having a good time. But yes, if you're going to a conference and you don't know anybody, definitely setting up some meetings ahead of time can be a great way to have some things set up. So when you walk in the door, you at least know you're going to get to talk to some people and they're going to be expecting that communication from you. So I think that's a good tactic to go with. All right, next up, review pomodus. Okay, jumping back into my screen share here. I am going to review this product here. Okay, so this is super cool because I have been talking about turning off your notifications, getting in the zone so you can focus on work a lot of different angles. And then lo and behold, I find this app, which says interruptions killing productivity and joy, ? Yes, the answer is yes. So this product is basically doing everything I've been talking about. Look at this. It's even using the same language. Take control, get more done, stay in the zone. I mean, this is exactly what I've been wanting to see. Pomodus, by the way, this is an interesting Pomodus blocks Slack notifications so that you can work without unwanted interruptions. Beautiful. Has a trailer video, which I'm not going to watch here until I need to get a beefier computer for my live streams. Slack as dashboard. That's interesting. See who's busy and who's not. The tomato emoticon tells you that the person is busy and at what time they'll be available. So I think this is a play on the Pomodoro technique because for some reason I remember Pomodoro being associated with tomatoes, and I don't know why, but I seem to remember that. Pomodus gives you the stats on the number of cycles. You know what's an interesting idea I just thought of, by the way, for products? A lot of times you don't know how to pronounce a product name, and that's happened to my businesses repeatedly, so I totally get it. It would be interesting if, as kind of a standard thing, you know how you can show the pronunciation of a word, like there's that syntax where you show how a word is pronounced. I think that should become a standard thing for product names, because so much of a product name is when you, like, to me, so much of it is like, how does it roll off the tongue? You know, so I think that'd be interesting. Pomodus gives you, all right, I'm putting on the glasses. You guys, the glasses are coming out because the text on the screen here is a little bit fuzzy. It's a wee bit fuzzy, so these bad boys are coming out. These bad boys are coming out. Okay. Pomodus gives you the stats on the number of cycles of focused work you've completed. Love it. Canceled and what you've been working on. Only share if you want to. Love it. Important versus urgent. So important. So important to distinguish important versus urgent. Pricing plans. Would you look at that? Wow, we've got some interesting pricing plans. Oh, look at that. They're even honest about their annual versus monthly, which is fantastic. I hate it when people say $5 a month billed annually. Brought to you by Teutonic Labs, is a company that creates thinking tools for thinking people. I like that too. I like everything about this company. Let's dive in, shall we? Oh, it looks like I can't really see product. Is there a product tour? I want to see a product tour. I know there's probably a video here. You know what? Let me try watching the video since I'm streaming at 720p. Maybe, just maybe, I can get away with it. Let's give it the old college try. Let's give it the old college try. It's not going to go well. So far, so good. Encoding is not overloaded. Hey, yo. Although the video is going really slow. Yeah, I got to get a new computer. Live streaming is simply very resource intensive. So would make these reviews a lot better if I could see the friggin' trailer videos. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, super interesting. I think definitely worth checking out. I'm sure there's tons of tools that solve for this problem. The notification, the constant death by 1,000 notifications. That's a good quote. I need to jot that down somewhere. Death by 1,000 notifications. All right, next up. Ooh, got some more comments from John here in the program. What are you using now that this would replace? Okay, and I think you're talking about Pomodus. So myself, that's a great question. I appreciate that. Myself personally, I don't have any kind of an app specifically that blocks notifications or whatever. What I do is I basically turn off notifications. So for Slack, I'm in a few different Slacks. None of them send me notifications. None of them send me desktop pop-ups. None of them send me mobile pop-ups. I have a workflow where if it's a Slack I need to check into, I have a workflow where every day I check into it. And then at that point, let me go out of my screen share here. Then at that point, when I'm in there, I will reply to all the notifications I got. So essentially, I'm using it in kind of an asynchronous way. And I basically do the same thing for everything, for email, Twitter, LinkedIn. Nothing sends me notifications. And that way, I can kind of control my own schedule. when I want to be focused on, for example, right now I'm doing a live stream and there isn't any notification that's going to pop up and interrupt me. Even phone calls, I have disabled. I have do not disturb on my phone and text and stuff like that. So that's just the way I do it. So I can focus. Anyway, but I appreciate that. That's a great question. But I think for other people, I think other people can do that for sure. But I think also some of these tools can also probably help people a lot to just make it a little easier. Because I'm a little bit fanatical about turning off my notifications, but I think to have some tools that can make it easier would be interesting. Next topic is if you're not posting written content daily to LinkedIn, you're missing out. This is actually a good one for you, John, as I know you're thinking about content. But I was just thinking about this, and this is something Gary Vee talks about all the time. Let me take off these glasses. For full effect. This is something that Gary Vee talks about a lot, but basically LinkedIn has really good organic reach right now. Particularly, I talked about different content formats. I've been trying video formats. I've been trying YouTube links. I've been doing quote graphics, text content, different types of content. I would say that at least for myself, the text content seems to work really well on LinkedIn. And so I think that, I'm basically going to pull a little bit of a Gary Vee here where he basically says, if you're not posting content to LinkedIn regularly, you're kind of missing out. So I'm kind of stealing his shtick a little bit here, but that's okay because he likes people to steal his shtick. But I've experienced this personally, and I'm not really that good at writing. For me, it's easier to do this kind of a thing, and I have a writer that turns this into these great little written posts. The particular format that I found works best is literally just a LinkedIn post. There's a 1,300 character limit. You can hashtag it. You can mention people. I've also tried experimenting with LinkedIn articles and longer form articles, and those didn't seem to do as well. I probably could have tested them better than I did. But in particular, 1,300 character limit LinkedIn posts, I would say if you are not doing one of those per day, you're kind of missing out big time. And so I would say definitely try to get on that. The organic reach of LinkedIn isn't going to last forever. So time is running out. Act fast. Got to act fast. Okay. That is all I want to say on that. Next up, timed fields. This one's also interesting, John. I'm not sure. This whole program is for you today, brother. But this is on the topic of no code. I've been diving into Airtable, Webflow, not so much Bubble, but one of the things I've found with integromat specifically is, and I don't know if I should try to pull this up or not. Am I logged in here? No, I don't think I'm logged in. Maybe I'll do a screen share on this one. One of the things specifically I found with integromat is that there's so many triggers. So what I was trying to do yesterday is I wanted to set up a trigger on Google Drive and Dropbox so that when people share something with me on Google Drive or Dropbox, it pops into our Slack, right? Integromat's great for that. You can set up the trigger. You can pop it in. But the one thing I find that's missing a lot with a lot of the integromat triggers is an instant trigger. And so it seems like almost all of the triggers are timed, scheduled triggers. So for example, with Drive, Google Drive, you set up a trigger and then you tell it what schedule to run on. So does it run on a daily schedule, every hour schedule, every 15 minutes schedule? You can pick that. Now, based on what you pick, you're going to use up a certain number of operations per month. And the way integromat works, the way the pricing works is it's based on operations per month. So you get 1,000 for free, and then I paid for the 10,000 tier. But for example, even if I set up one scenario in integromat for checking drive, and let's say it only checks on an hourly basis, that's going to use up 700 and something operations per month just to do that checking, not to do anything else. Not any other steps in the scenario would be extra operations. So just to do the checking, it's going to use 700 things per month, which is not, I mean, you know, it's kind of a lot. And I find myself, things that I wanted to set up, I find myself going, maybe I shouldn't set that up because it's using too many operations on the one hand. And on the other hand, instant triggers are just better, right? Because instead of waiting an hour or 15 minutes, they're just instantaneous. For example, Stripe has a really nice instantaneous trigger. When a payment is made, you get an instantaneous trigger, and I've used that one. That one's great. And I did search, and I do believe that Google Drive has the webhook API in order to facilitate an instant trigger, but it's just not implemented. It seems like within Integromat's Google Drive integration, the Dropbox integration, Airtable integration, virtually it seems like almost everything doesn't actually have those instant triggers, which would be super useful because again, they're saving you on your operation count. They're much faster. They're just better all around. And so it's been interesting that's not available. I'm not sure if it's something that an external developer could build that integration custom, because it probably would be worth looking at that for myself personally. But anyway, that's all I want to say about that particular topic. Let's see what we got next up here. Oh yeah, this is another no-code topic. User-specific read-write permissions in Airtable would be amazing. So this is the original tweet. Question from John. What are some examples that you're using this for? You mean integromat? I think you probably mean integromat. So, yeah. So, what I'm using it for, at the moment, I can't pull up my logged in view on this screenshot in order to show that, but, what I'm using it for real quick is, so for the content team that I have going, or for Content Accelerator, I'm using it for things like when somebody uploads something to Google Drive or Dropbox to send us a notification. Also, I'm using it for assignments. So as a piece of content, so for kind of like workflows. So if a piece of content gets assigned to the writer, and then the writer finishes their work and populates a field, and then it gets assigned to the video editor. I have some logic in there that change the assignee, and then I check that and I send pings in Slack so that a piece of content can move through a workflow, which is pretty cool. Also for Stripe, when payments are made, I pull those in, I log them in Airtable. So I have a record of sort of how much each person is paid. And then also for making payments out to team members, I have a scenario that looks at their time entries, their hourly time entries. It sums them up, creates a separate record for a weekly payment, and then it takes that payment, sends me a Slack notification with a PayPal link that I can just click on to make the payment. Interestingly enough, it doesn't seem like there's any automated actions for making a payment directly from Integromat or Zapier, which is weird. I'd think that would be pretty common, but I couldn't find it. So those are some of the things I'm using it for, and it's so cool once you start playing around with these things, like all the different options there are. Is really neat. So yeah. Thanks for that question. All right. So it's getting pretty late here. Been going 24 minutes. Let me move through these quickly. User-specific write permissions for Airtable. So this would be really cool. And this ties into what I was just talking about with regard to the workflows I'm creating and stuff like that. So creating a productized service where I've got clients that are putting content into a queue that's getting sent out to team members. And then as content's being completed, we want to send it back to clients and do things like show them billing metrics and stuff like that. And man, so a couple of things Airtable has that are cool is you can take a view and you can share that view, create a shareable URL so people can see it. Now that's a read-only view, which is helpful. But what I would love to be able to do would be to create a read-write access view that you could give, different essentially guests access to. Because at the moment, as far as I understand it, if you share, if you give somebody access to Airtable, they see everything. This is one of the things that Monday.com does a little better job of, is that you can have guest levels of access and stuff like that. And I think if Airtable had that, it would enable, essentially it would enable multi-tenant SaaS within Airtable, which is wild. Because you could just give them access to views that show them their data. They could modify that data themselves. And then you could create workflows, automated workflows between different people. It'd be killer. It would be killer. And I feel like, yeah, I need a better understanding of what options there are for that type of functionality within the no-code realms. All right, last up. Last up. Oh, man, I'm getting hot. Last up, tweet from Brendan Falkowski. Received word on speaking at Magento Imagine 2020. And then he posts a video, which is just perfect. I think it's a clip from, I'm not going to actually play it because it'll overload my system here, but I think it's a clip from like Gladiator or something like that. And it's just like, the clip is absolutely perfect. It's like this guy is saying, like, after 5 years of scraping around in the dust, we're going back to the arena or whatever, back to the Gladiators arena. And it's just funny because Brendan did all of these killer talks at Imagine like 4 years in a row on responsive design. And then I guess he hasn't had talks accepted for a couple of years now, and he's back. He does such a great job of giving talks. His talks are just incredible. So I'd have to imagine that he's giving a talk on one of the hot button topics. Currently, maybe something B2B, maybe PWA, who knows? But it'll be really interesting to see. And that's always, his talks are always can't miss. Brendan always gives the can't miss talks at Imagine. So really looking forward to that. Congratulations to him. And congratulations to anybody going to Imagine, because you're in for a treat. You are in for a treat. All right. That is all that I have. That is all that I have for you today. Thanks for tuning in. I hope that you have a beautiful Wednesday day, and I'll see you